my first question is you grew up in Amsterdam, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
How
I've
was
also lived in a village for a while, like maybe four. Yeah, so I lived in Amsterdam until I was 7 years old with my parents. Then we moved to Zaanstad, like in Wormerveer. That's like a small village, and we lived there for 10 years. And then since I was 17 years old, I lived in Amsterdam. So almost my entire life I lived in Amsterdam, and right now I also live in Amsterdam. Yeah.
Of course.
So
What was it like to grow up in Amsterdam? Like, describe how life was.
well, good question. Yeah, like I think when I was young, like was interested in other things, like I was not learning any languages. I was just very creative, stuff like that. Um, but what I already liked about Amsterdam is like the idea that it's so huge, it's such a huge city. So especially when you're smaller, like there's so much to explore and to see, just in one city. So I think that's very cool. Yeah, then later when so as I told you, I lived in a village for like 10 years. Personally, I didn't like it there so much because people were a little bit, I don't know. I just had like everyone knew about you. Know what I mean? Like it was not in Amsterdam. Every day is new. You always meet new people, new culture, stuff like that, and it's like a huge adventure. So I really like that. But the language thing was coming later. Actually, I think since I was 23. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to ask about that. So, when you grow up in the Netherlands, you learn Dutch and you learn English. Is that correct?
In the Netherlands, yeah, there's a question which I hear frequently, like, so what were the first languages which you learned, right? So, and everyone is asking that from a sort of different perspective. Well, like, Dutch is my mother tongue, of course, and I learned English since I was 7 years old. But for most people living in the Netherlands, they were learning English at primary school, so that's pretty common. Then I learned French and German since I was 13 years old, and yeah, these were the languages which I learned at school, and since I was 23 years old, I started learning those foreign languages like Mandarin Chinese, stuff like that. Yeah.
Sure. And of course, the question now is going to be, Wouter, why at 23 did you decide, hey, I'm going to start learning all these different languages? Because you were already learning, four languages essentially, and now you added what, another 25 essentially. Why
Yeah.
did you decide to do that? It's obviously very impressive, but I'm curious.
Yeah, sure, sure. I can definitely understand it. Well, first of all, yeah, let me tell something about what I did before. Between I was 18 years old and 22 years old, I studied illustration at an art academy. So that was my thing, which I did, which also became my profession. And like around, yeah, when I was 23 years old, I was like selling my artwork, like at the Zandschans, like a windmill village, and like there we're passing many different people, with different nationalities, so I really liked it too. I was curious about all those people, like, yo, what are they speaking, what are they doing here, something like that. I was just curious, so I
Mhm.
was thinking about, okay, how can we connect together, what can I do, so I was like speaking their language a little bit by learning phrases from tourists. So that's how I started, basically, like learning phrases from Chinese people. And after a while, I was getting more and more and more fun. I was getting more, how do you say it? I was becoming more interested in languages, So each year I was learning new things, stuff like that. And yeah, so how I became so interested? Well, I think the different cultures and the different connection with people. I also must tell you guys that I have different levels in all these languages. All right, so sometimes there's a sort of like discussion going on, like what is speaking a language. There are some people who think that you only speak a language which you speak when you speak it fluently. All right, so yeah, in that case, like I speak English fluently and Dutch, basically. That's it. I then I think I speak Spanish, Portuguese, German, and French at B2 level, which is like upper intermediate, and all the other 23 languages are at a basic level. So, but some people don't consider that as speaking a language when you speak it as a basic language. Like I have another interpretation. It's more like if you're saying like, "Hey, I don't speak this language," then people are switching to English. So, in my opinion, it's better to tell in an early stage that you are speaking a language, but you speak it a little bit, for example, or you're learning it, and you would speak it at an A1 level, for example. So, by telling that, people know about your level. It doesn't have to do anything with showing off, and people are helping you to improve the language. And it's more like use it or lose it, right? But yeah, some people think that you should not tell that you speak the language then. But in my opinion, if you don't say that, people speak English to you, and you will never get the chance to, speak it and improve it basically. So, I mean, and what also some people forget is like even for an A1 or A2 level, you need a lot of practice. Like Russian, for example, which I've learned for 9 months to reach the A2 level. I think it's between A1 and A2 level. I've learned it for 9 months, which is a lot of time. So that's how slow it can go. But imagine if I would tell people like, oh, I don't speak Russian, then it would only go back all these 9 months for nothing. So that's the sort of message which I wanna give to those people who are about this fluency discussion. It's a lot going on. Like I mean, everyone has different goals. Like you can go for fluency, but you can also go for a more social conversation. Or if you want to travel, like imagine I'm going to Russia, I could speak Russian in order to order things or to have social conversations with people. Like
Certainly. Absolutely. One of my favorite videos of yours, Wouter, and I think it's the most iconic and the most popular. It's really what I think made me fall in love with your content. Is you are having a conversation with another polyglot who speaks, almost 30 languages. How was that experience, A, and then B, afterwards, like I know you probably read some of your comments and you see people being critical of, oh, he's not fluent, he's only, A1 or A2. How hard is it to then sort of not listen to people's opinions in the comments section after a great video like the one you had with the polyglot?
Yeah, let's answer that, because like if some people are telling like, yo, you have an A1 or A2 level in a huge number of languages, I mean, I can just say, yeah, that's true. I mean, like it's as I told you, I told it myself, like in 6 languages I can have a deep conversation, in the other 23 languages I can have basic conversations, but it's my goal to improve them. So I have a sort of plan within the next 5 years to get all these languages at a B1 level or better, all of them, but I need 5 years for that. But in order to achieve that level, I need to make a lot of mistakes, and I also need to expose myself and speak those languages which I speak at a lower level. So I'm doing a sort of the opposite. I like to use the languages which I speak at a lower level in order to improve them. So it's the totally, people were telling like you're showing off. It's totally the opposite, because if I would show off, I would only speak the languages which I speak at a better level. But I want to expose myself, I want to show my mistakes, I want people to help me and stuff like that. So what you said, if people are telling me like, yo, you've A1 or A2 level, whatever, I don't see it as a negative comment, because it is at that level in most of the languages. If someone would give me constructive feedback, like would tell me like, hey, you speak it at this level, but also would treat me as I'm in that level, and give me feedback based on the level which I have, then I can do something. But if someone is telling things which are way too high and far away for where I'm right now, it is, like there's not a stage where I am. We also all have different motivations, with the content which we are creating. But in general, I'm pretty open-minded for constructive feedback. So if you're telling me, if people are like criticizing me, it's okay, like as long that I also can understand that I'll do what I want to do, like, I mean, I have my own goals, so yeah.
Absolutely. I apologize because I asked you about 2 questions in that last question, but I am really curious, when you're having that conversation with the other polyglot who speaks 29 languages, how is your brain working? Like I can imagine trying to juggle all these different languages with someone, because he was really good in a lot of
really good
languages.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you?
It was a crazy experience, like really one of the most crazy experiences I ever had. Like you're sitting there at the Sans doing your work there, and suddenly like he also knew me from the internet, like, and it was so random, and that's also something what I want to tell. Like people should also not forget that it was one video, it was one video, and well, actually 2 videos, because like it wasn't the same day, but like first we had one video, we had like 15 languages or something, and then the last 6 languages we spoke it later. So the first 15 languages were in one video, which was like pretty exhausting. So people should also not forget that it's crazy difficult to how do you say it, to switch between so many languages. That's not easy. Our brain is not made for that, you know. Yeah, I also think it's normal to make mistakes. I think that everyone has different intentions, and that's a little bit the thing of the internet. People will never know exactly what someone's intentions are from the content creator. I know what my intentions are, you know, like I know I want to inspire people. I know, I want to make mistakes. I want to learn from them, and I'm not showing off, you know. But if people are still thinking that, you know, you can never change their, you know, like their opinion or their perspective, you know. But let's say it like this: the most people, far away, the most people are like still inspired, and yeah. Otherwise, my content was not going so well, you know, because I can say it's going well. I'm happy with all the people I met, other people texting me, and yeah, that's where you should focus on, you know. And if there's still like a part of people who are not happy, you know, I can ask them like, yo, is there anything what I can do in order to make you more happy, you know? But as long I can still be myself, you know, then it's fine, you know.
Of course. Well, at over 250,000 subscribers on YouTube, Wouter, I would say people really love your content, myself included.
Okay.
I encourage you to keep going. A question then is, as I watch more and more of your videos over the last year or so, you've done a lot of traveling to a lot of different countries. Do you wish to, in the future, become more of like a travel vlogger, using your language skills and visiting countries, documenting your experiences, or are you content to stay in Amsterdam and interact with a bunch of different people? Because Amsterdam is such a multicultural city. You can talk to so many different people.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, I mean, I'm always very open-minded, you know, like also for feedback from other people, like, yo, what do people like? And I've also seen during COVID that I had a little bit of a harder time, you know, with my channel, because like there was a period that I was creating content at home, you know, and that's not really the content which people like. And, you know, like most people who like my channel, you know, they're interested in those multilingual prank videos, those entertaining videos on the street, you know. So I'm back on that since 3 months or 4 months. I'm back on the street, you know, since there are less restrictions in Amsterdam. And yeah, definitely in the future when there's more possible, you know, and when I'm a little bit more used to, you know, being back on the streets again, I definitely want to look at what is possible abroad, you know, like what kind of projects could I do there. Yeah, I think some of those multilingual prank videos, I could also do them abroad, you know, and I definitely want to think about that. But I'm still in a brainstorming stage. I'm still thinking about that. But first of all, you know, for next month for sure, I want to, you know, like how do you say? There's so many projects which I still want to do, but which I couldn't do because of COVID, and I sort of want to go for that right here. And then in the future, I can have a look at like, hey, what is possible abroad, you know? So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. Perhaps my favorite thing about you, Wouter, is you admittedly on camera are a bit awkward in the way you interact with people, but you just own it and you're like, this is who I am, this is how I'm going to be, and people respond really well to it. How did you develop that confidence to just be like, you know what, I am who I am and people will watch me and that's just how it's going to be? Because I think it's really admirable.
I first want to give you a compliment about the questions which you asked, because some of them were never asked before. I think it's a very cool question. I also must think about like, I know how to answer, but I mean, it's also important to find the right word, you know, like, because the word awkward is just a word, you know, like it's also, we also don't even know what is the negative word or is the positive word. I don't know, because like, I know that I'm a little bit awkward, but it has more to do with the thing that I'm pretty direct, you know, like I am who I am, you know, basically. And on the camera, I'm the same as how I am with my friends, you know. So meeting strangers for me is like meeting friends, you know. So even when not knowing them, I still can be myself because the languages are giving me a sort of power that I feel comfortable with them. And that's just making it awkward because I'm saying the same things as which I'm telling to my friends, you know. But because they are not my friends, it might be a little bit awkward because they're like, hey, what are you saying? These are normally jokes which people would make to their friends, stuff like that, you know. It's hard to approach strangers. You don't know them, you don't know what to say, and that is already awkward, you know, by definition. Almost like if you don't know people, what are you saying to them, you know, like. And then even in a language which you don't speak fluently, you know, that's hard, you know. So But the thing is, I I can tell you, right? Like I've been bullied until I was 18 years old. All right, for a long time in my life, I've been bullied, right? And people didn't accept me as how I am. You know, like I was doing things with I was drawing. People were making fun about me because I didn't like football. I was not going to the gym. Blah blah blah. All this stuff, right? So I was pretty used to be different, right? And then there's a sort of stage in your life that I was studying art, stuff like that. Then the bullying thing was over. I was doing something what I love, and I was having people around me who love the same thing what I did, like art. And I think later when I was making videos and learning languages, I think because I was already used to be myself, I was also not afraid to be awkward anymore because I was already bullied in my life. It was like I already had thick skin. You know what I mean? Because like people were making fun about me, but I was different, but I was inconfident at that time. But since I was like doing things which I love to do, and at the same time being used to be bullied, you don't care anymore. It's like you don't feel any pain. You're not afraid to just be who you are because you're already like, you cannot hurt me anymore. You know what I mean? Sort of like that feeling. And so I would say I think I'm still a little bit inconfident, but people might not see it. But because of the languages and stuff, it's giving me a sort of like power, a sort of tool, an instrument to connect easier with people. And because I'm used to be bullied from the past, I don't care so much anymore because I can handle more pain basically. I just don't care. It's like that. And because of that, I'm not afraid to be awkward. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Like,
Makes a lot of sense.
okay, yeah, it's a bit hard to explain because it might be very confusing for those who are seeing me approaching people, but it's more that I'm pretty used to it. And when you're used to something, you're also not afraid anymore. You don't feel fear or anything. That's how I feel. I don't feel any fear when I approach people, when I use languages. I don't feel it. So
It's funny you say that. I recently heard that the people who are the most compensated or who make the most money, right? They typically do things that most people are afraid of. And you had just talked about, talking to people, approaching random strangers and having a conversation. I think with the trajectory you're on, Wouter, it would be really cool in like a year or two to see you, up around 1 million subscribers. And, I know you had talked about the type of content you'll create going forward, but I'm very excited to see where that comes in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. If you had like a dream for, let's say, 5 years from now, what would you be doing? Would you still be making videos on YouTube? Would you kind of parlay that into something else, or what do you think?
yeah, well, first of all, I'm not really focusing on I'm not focusing on fame or anything. Like that's not a goal. Like some people, they want to have a very popular channel. Like in my opinion, it's not really. In my case, it's not my goal. It's not where I'm aiming for. Where I'm aiming for is like doing things, exploring things about myself, discovering more about myself, and what I can do in order to learn more languages, whatever, but also get close to other cultures. So the thing which I really like about the street videos which I make, like is the people where you're meeting, the cultures which you're understanding better, and how more you're understanding those cultures, how more you're also discovering about yourself. And I think that's a very interesting part. So I definitely would love to learn a very rare language for example, in the future, and maybe living with those people in a small village for a couple of weeks, doing what they are doing, seeing how they're living. And yeah, it's questionable if I will make videos about that or not, or I will just keep it as an experience. I don't know. But if you ask me what are your dreams, well, definitely improving the languages which I'm already speaking, and well, doing more with that, like maybe even mini documentaries or stuff like that, that could be possible as well. I don't know yet. Like it's something where I'm just thinking about. But I think there are many things possible. There are always new doors, always new opportunities. I'm just thinking. Yeah.
I do believe that answer will come, and you probably don't know it right now, but something will just kind of come about, and you'll seize that opportunity and take full advantage of it. I'm very sure of that. What's one thing you'd like people to know that perhaps we haven't already discussed yet?
Something what? Yeah, I think I've one thing which I can definitely say based on what I also said before. Like I think it's very important that you find people around you where will inspiring you. And of course, that is very basic advice, but it's very important. So if you're learning a language or, you know, even whatever you're doing, you need people around you who are motivating you. So if there's anyone who's like demotivating you or even bullying you, whatever, like you should always know your own path. You know, your path is right there, and you can grab your opportunities. All right, you just need to follow it, right? And if there are people around you who are like not motivating you or they don't fit to your personality, look to other people. You know, like there's so many people in the language learning community who are interested in languages, who are very willing to offer their help or stuff like that. You know, so many of them, and you just need to get to know them. So some people are asking, but how can I know them? Well, it's very simple. If you're making a video, for example, in Spanish or Russian or the target language, right, and you publish it, and you just ask for feedback, there will always be people who are, you know, like could give you feedback or where you can practice with. There's so many people who are also interested to maybe learn, to learn your language. All right. So if you're doing a sort of like exchange, many people will like that, especially during these days when there's COVID. You know, there are more people who have more time, and it's the same as going to the gym. If you're having someone where you're sporting with, you need someone who is like motivating you. All right. And if you know someone who's like a friend and you're practicing languages with that person and it's like natural, you're really interested in what that person is doing, there's also more chance that you will understand it. And that same mentality is also with movies, music. If you're listening to music in another language, which is something which you like, or if you watch a movie which really like is something which is interesting for you, there's more chance that you will learn something. You know, so that's how you can build opportunities around you and make it more relaxed for yourself. Yeah.
Certainly. Awesome. Great answers to everything, Wouter. I really appreciate the time.
Thanks, man. Thanks for your time. All right.
No, thank you.
Bye,
It was
man.
a pleasure.
Yes. Bye bye.
Have-
Thank you.